that you've had the courage to look at that. Where do you think, when you track back, I've always been fascinated by memories that we hold from our childhood that have left an imprint that's really strong in our lives, whether it be positive, challenging, whatever it may be. What's a difficult memory from childhood, do you think, that has been the catalyst for so many things in your life? Is there anything that you go back to that you're like, I can see how that, and I had to turn that into a positive?
I think the biggest memory for me is the one of being complacent. You know, as a child, I wasn't really a kid that embraced the world of challenge, right? I was very complacent. I was okay with being a subpar to low average student, right? I was okay with not trying. I was okay with not giving my all. And I was kind of okay with getting over, right? So the biggest memory that I have in my childhood is like when I got to that early teen years, that 12, that 13, that 14, being sneaky and thinking that you're constantly one-upping someone was the that's what I was embracing at the highest level. Do your homework. I did it. Did you really do your homework? I did it. And you taking my word for it and not checking my homework. Oh, I didn't do it, but you think I did. I got over. Ultimately, you're slowly cheating yourself over the course of years, and it's not until you get a reality check as to why that work was necessary that you realize you're just not doing what you're supposed to do with your life, right? You're not giving your all. I had a lot of different examples of that. I truly had a mom that made sure that I had, and I didn't take advantage or embrace the real work that she put in until I got to an older age of true understanding. But to be honest, I really threw a lot of those things to the side. The extracurricular activities, the swim teams, the football teams, the basketball teams, the track and field, the baseball, all of these things as a kid, you don't understand your parents are doing to try to provide you with a world of opportunity. They're trying to keep you occupied. They're trying to embrace this idea of hard work, effort, activity, engage. They're doing all these things or all of these things to their kids, or hopefully, right, for their kids, to put their kids in a position to just want, right? Want the best, compete, study, learn, be excited about their future. That light bulb went off late. Thankfully, when it went off at the right time. And I was able to identify a lot of stuff that I couldn't then. And also, thankfully, that a lot of the lessons that my mom constantly embedded in me about you don't start things that you're not going to finish, you don't quit, apply your all, do this or don't do it. You're not cheating anybody but yourself. All of these things that I heard over the course of time, there was a moment when I got older, it all hit at the same time. But the real memory for me now, looking back, is I'm glad that I do see that I am aware of that, because not being aware of that is the hugest loss. Thinking that I took full advantage, thinking that I really applied or tried myself, thinking that that was 100% would be the real loss. So one of my best memories is knowing that at one point I was a slacker. You know, I was the guy that wanted to look like he was doing, but never truly was, unless it was something that I loved and embraced. And, you know, that was basketball, but the chances of me making that were very slim. But, you know, that's, to answer your question, it's a ballpark of those memories that I now look back on that I appreciate, but that also act as the fuel for the hard work and the 100% that you see that I put into everything I do today.
Yeah, that's such a great reframe around what you saw as a bigger loss. I think that's so powerful for you to sit here and say, actually, I'm really happy that I can see that I wasn't putting my best foot forward, because that helps me be grateful to my mom. It helps me understand it from a different perspective. And the one thing that came to mind for me when I'm listening to you say that is, there's this quote that says, the day you realize your parents were right, your kids are telling you that you're wrong.
Wow.
And
Wow.
That's always been one of those statements that I think about that in my own self. I thought my parents were wrong my entire teenage life, and I think most teenagers do. And then all of a sudden I hit my mid-20s and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. My mom's been through a lot. You know, my parents put in a lot of sacrifice. And so I love that you brought that up. I mean, one of the reasons we pushed this show back was you lost your father recently. And when I heard the news, obviously, you know, my love and condolences to your family. And I was looking at what you were sharing and commenting about. And there was this one thing that you said that really stuck with me. And you said that my kids actually think I'm the coolest dad on the planet. I know why I am the way I am. My dad has a lot to do with that. The mistakes that my dad made, you know, the decisions to do drugs, being in and out of jail, in and out of your lives. I saw firsthand what not being present did because of that. I now know what being present means. I know what I can do. I know what effect it can have on your child coming up. But it sounded like, obviously, when you lost your father recently, it sounds like you'd reconciled, like you'd built somewhat of a connection.
You know, me and my dad, we weren't the closest, but we weren't not close. My dad, at the end of the day, I'm going to love my dad for simply being my dad. Now, my dad's life, you know, had several different versions of drastic downs, right? A small amount of ups, but a lot of downs. I can easily sit here and ridicule or judge my dad for the mistakes that he made or for his past, but that does nothing. I don't like to focus on problem. I focus on solution.
Yes.
So with me and my dad in our relationship, it was always one of solution. Like, you can't go back and fix the years that you weren't present. There is nothing that we can do about that time. We can have a conversation about it. We can talk about it. And then me and my dad talking, my biggest thing was, you don't have to focus on what you can't change. The fact that you're here now and that you made a decision to get clean, to turn your life around, it's never too late. My dad was, 50 plus at the time when he said, I'm gonna go ahead and figure it out. And I'm gonna close that door and I'm gonna work on this other door. This door over here was, like I said, jail, drugs, in and out of his kid's life, to the point where, there was a time when we didn't know where my dad was. And I bumped into my dad on a train. I tell a story. I bumped into my dad on a public transportation in Philadelphia. Like, not seeing him in years, I randomly saw my dad. And my dad was so embarrassed, he got off the train and ran. But it's like, that's where that world and that relationship was. And what I do very well, I don't hold on to grudges or gripes. It takes too much time. It takes too much energy. Things will work themselves out. They never not have. It always work itself out. I mean, my dad worked it out, right? Like, it's about the grandkids. And our relationship got better as he embraced the opportunity to be a great grandpa. And seeing him try to do that right was his way of saying, I wish I could have done this right for you. I can't. Like, I know what you're saying without saying it. Sometimes you don't need words. Although some people do need them, sometimes your actions are a little better. And my dad's actions, in trying his best to be an unbelievable grandfather, made our father-son relationship that much better. And, there was a lot of conflict between my brother and my dad, and seeing that mend over the time. And just saying, look, I'm not supposed to be here. Dad, look at what your son has done. Look at where I am. Being that I can, I want to make sure that you get to see some dope things in life. Here, let's do this and take that and live like this and do. So things work themselves out. His reward for giving his energy to something positive and life-changing was his son becoming successful and his son saying, Dad, it's not expected. That wasn't the plan. You got a great piece of light at the end of that dark tunnel that you didn't expect, that I didn't expect, because I didn't expect to be here. So everything it works itself out.
Yeah.
And, and losing my dad is when you look back and you go, yo, he was all right, right? Like, my reflection, my conversation, my words when I speak on behalf of my father, they're so positive and dope because he did good. I'm all right.
Mm-hmm.
I came out okay. Mom, Dad, you did good. Like, whatever you did to put whatever recipe in this pot, the food came out all right. I'm a good person. I got a good heart. I treat people with respect. Ultimately, I want the most that I can possibly get out of life. I love to love. I'm a good dude. Am I perfect? No. I got some of them imperfections over there. I got some of the ones from over here, from my man, dad. Okay, that's life.
Of course.
I'm going to figure it out, but I figure it out without the want or need for problem.